deal with the democracy concept, and one of them is Andrew Haywood. He regards democracy and he asks question if it should be a rule of people or it should be a rule of people's representative, or those who govern the country should serve for people. So which is correct for democracy? All of them or only one of them? According to Andrew Haywood, democracy should link government with people. So what if we take this one, rule of people? Can people actually rule the country? Can we? Can anybody or us rule the country? Maybe tomorrow I decide that I should rule the country, not the President Jafar.
No.
Why not?
Like, with the elections, you can vote. Without it, just your choice will not have strength.
So there should be rules. There should be rules who will govern the country. Rule of people is impossible in itself, like because all the people cannot claim for being an authority. And all the people are, there are so many people in the country that everyone cannot actually rule. That's why we call it rule of people's representative. So people, they decide who will represent their ideas, their values, and that representative should serve people and should be in the government. That's why we say that the governance, it should be made for the people. Right? Okay, modern democracy. Let's go to the modern concept of democracy. Again, as I said, rule of people. Can many people rule the country? Okay, let it not be only one me, only one you, somebody of you. So all the people in general. There are too many people, and a crowd cannot actually rule. Rule of people representatives, as you said it correctly, there should be an election process, election procedures, where people vote for a person, for a party, who are going to govern, who are going to rule. So governance for the people, let's deal with that. So, procedural governance. So, okay, we've chosen a person who represents our values for the government, and we've chosen a person or a group of people who rule the country. Should they stay as an authority? Should they stay and govern for all the time? How do we know? So once we trust that person, let him rule for, I guess, 10 years, 15 years. Can it be that way? Actually, we can observe the facts, but this is not about democracy, right? 15 лет у власти, 20 лет у власти. Это не демократия. Это уже не демократия. So, it can be a representative. It can be a person we trust. He or she can govern. That people can govern a group of people. But there should be a procedure of governing, and there should be strict rules for the government how to rule the country. And one necessary prerequisite for democracy existence is negotiations. Negotiations should be within authorities. The group of people who govern the country should always negotiate and develop their ideas, their understanding of how to rule the country. There should be a negotiation within society. So we, citizens, can negotiate if we think that something is incorrect, or if we have a claim for the government. If we want to inform government about something, we can negotiate with it. And our negotiations within society would be like useless if there were no negotiations between authority and the society. There should be a people's representative for the government to to inform them on people's needs, on people's values, what we want to change in the society, in the country, to live happily after. So, thus, step by step, we are here for discussing democratic government. So, one more politician is Robert Dahl, and he proposes the concept of polyarchy. He claims that polyarchy is like a purified version. It's a purified version of all the existing systems. What does he mean under polyarchy? Poly means many, and archia means power. We already know it. The rule of many. So this is a political system based on competition. This is another prerequisite for democracy to exist. There should be a competition among diverse groups. Under the groups, let's understand political parties or groups of people who want to rule the country. So, and polyarchy is the system of competition. Do we have competitive like elections in our country? What does it mean to be competitive?
Like all the parties compete with each other to win, and they will like have a power, have a strength to rule the country. No, like that.
What kind of competition is that? What do they do? Do they run faster than anyone else?
No, it's elections. Just elections.
Yes, it's elections, but how can they win? How many people decide that exactly this person or exactly that party should win?
Advertisement, like of themselves. What will they do? The new things they will like give, bring to this country, to all things.
Okay, I got your idea. Everything that's in agenda, everything that's in their program, and this should be a clearly defined, well-developed program of how they are going to improve the situation in the country. That is a competition. That's how citizens, that's how we decide if this person, if this party worth of being elected. Okay. As we know, many countries claim to be democratic, but is this really that? Many countries deny democracy and they say it's not correct to be democratic. Many countries want to be democratic, but how do we know if a country is has democracy? So here we have some American classification. To what degree, to what extent the country is a democracy. So main basic prerequisites to judge if there is democracy in the country or not. Party systems. Party system. There should be parties, not only one, but several parties who can propose their own agenda, their own program of development, and there can be elections. There can be competition between parties. This is about party system. Formation of ruling groups. So there should be strictly developed rules of how to form ruling groups. Who is going to rule the country? There should be some prerequisites, some rule of how to elect that person. Realization of freedoms and rights. Each citizen should be free in his decision-making, in his lifestyle, in what way to live his or her life. And of course, every citizen has his or her own rights. And those freedoms and rights should be proclaimed in legislative document. And only then the country should be considered to be having democracy. Constitutional restrictions of power and authority. Except freedoms and rights, every person has responsibilities. Not only ordinary citizens like we are, but those who are in the authorities. everyone should be equal in constitution. And all the rules should be proposed for everyone. If someone breaks the rules, there should be punishment, no matter who you are. Social and economic equity, this is one more prerequisite of democracy. And it says that all the citizens in the country should be equal in their rights, in their freedoms, in their decision-making, in their lifestyles and choices. So they should be social equal and economically equal. But in many countries, it always existed, it always has been, and it always will be, I guess, the economic inequality. Access to public institutions. Everyone should have access to public institutions. No one should be restricted if they want to visit public institutions. Freedom of media or freedom of publications. So if you want to tell something, if you want many people to hear your opinion, your idea, so you should be free to publish your idea. You should be free to express your own opinion publicly. So this is a prerequisite of the democracy. So I don't provoke you to think that that country is democratic, that country is not, but keep in mind all the prerequisites and you will see if democracy works for countries or not. So those were general prerequisites. Now let's talk about political prerequisites of democracy. So we only can state that the country is a democratic one if it has public trust. So public trust is the degree, the extent to what degree we people trust our government. The government should be trusted. How do we show our trust? We show it through elections. And you see, there is a percentage, 96%. According to some sources, I didn't indicate sources here, but according to some sources, there should be 96% of supporters to the government, to the representative during the election. Again, I guess it depends on the country, and each country establishes its own percentage during the elections. So political freedom. What does it mean, political freedom of each of the citizens, of each of you, of all of us? So participation in political life of a country. Yes, you have the right to participate in what's going on in the country and how political decisions are made. That's why if the government needs to establish a law, it proposes the law first. Законопроект. Draft. Is it correct to say draft? Bill. Bill. Ah, a bill. Yeah. It's not a law. It's not a law immediately. It can be a bill, and there should be some time passed before it becomes a law. And in this time limit, you as citizens, if you are against, you can claim that you don't like this law. How can you do it? Through petitions, through some other actions, but you have the right to inform your government that you don't like this law, this bill. So social equity, this is also about political freedom. All the people should be social equal, which means all the people should have free access to all public facilities, to all public places, and there shouldn't be any distinction between who can do this and who cannot do that. Right? All the people should be equal. Election campaigns, this is also about political freedom. So there should be election campaigns to support the system, the existing system. So civil society. Civil society is inevitable, is very important, major prerequisite, political prerequisite of democracy. Some politicians claim that there is no democracy without civil society. what is a civil society? Who is a citizen? Who is a civilian? This is a person who can defend, people who can defend their own ideas and interests through actions. It's not only about that you disagree with what the government does and you just express your anger or express your disagreement at home and not do anything without it. It's not about being a citizen. Democracy says that, not me. So you should be free to express your ideas and through actions, not necessarily to make a revolution at once, but there are other many ways to let government know that you don't like something or maybe you want to propose something new. What is about citizen? Understands own rights and duties. So a citizen is one who clearly understands, who gets a clear idea of what we need to live happily, to make more progressive society. So everyone should understand what we can do, what we must do, or what we mustn't do. So we don't only have rights, we have duties in front of the other people, in front of the government, in front of our country. So it's inevitable. And civil society and democracies, as the democracy, is impossible without systems of values. So this is about culture and moral. So person who says that he loves his country but puts litter on the ground is not a citizen, you know. It starts, upbringing starts in the family, right? The government is not obliged to educate people, to make them aware of what's going on. So, and there are several tasks with this in mind, what we can do and what we should do, what a citizen is. We have two concepts of you can be a citizen of the country or you can be just a subject of the country. Citizen – гражданин, я переведу, чтобы было понятно. Subject of the country – подданный. В принципе, в документах можно встретить гражданин, можно встретить подданный страны. But there is a slight difference. Let's establish who are you, citizens or subjects of this country, of the country you live in. So let's answer some questions. Does a state owe you something? Should the state do something for you? Is the state obliged to do something for you?
Safety.
Safety.
It should provide you safety. The state should how is it? I don't think.
Okay. But if the question yes or no,
Yes.
does the state owe you something?
Yes, there's some lines. There's some
lines?
things they
Something.
should do.
Like for example, safety. If your mom tells you stay at home at 11, but you say no, I need to go for a walk, how can the government protect you?
In the streets, there shouldn't be prisoners. Wait, how does it?
Prisoners,
Like-
criminals.
Yeah, criminals. They should do something for your safety. You should feel yourself safe. But in our country, it's not like this.
It's not basically about only our country. It can happen everywhere.
Not only there, but in our country, it's not safety enough to walk at that time, especially for girls.
Do you remember I told you something about cooperation and about negotiation within the authorities and the people?
Yes.
So cooperation is the basic thing here. If you only think that government owe you something, but you shouldn't do anything in response,
No,
this is This means that you are not a citizen but a subject, because personal responsibility goes first, governmental responsibility goes second, because the government is composed of people, right?
Of course you're responsible for something, but government should do something for you too.
Yes, the government is responsible for the basic frameworks, for legislature to give the environment safer, to give the country safer. But many things depend on us, on people. So, and the sources claim that a subject always waits that government would do something. For example, I don't have enough money, this is guilt for government, not for me. Some sources claim that subjects think that, but citizens will create something to make it possible for the society to earn more money, you see. So who is responsible for your well-being, a state or yourself? This is about the example about, so if I don't have enough money, this is first of all my idea of how to get more money.
50-50.
Not the government. But I cannot go to president and say, give me a well-paid job. Right.
Like it should be 50-50. There should be like ability to go to a job, to work there. And if you don't have any vacancies, you can work. And if you are especially like a criminal, who came out from prison recently and he can't work anywhere, and the government I think should provide you some job to earn for your life.
But the government does. There are several governmental programs for former prisoners.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. If we start arguing, there is a lot to argue about. That's why I only give you ideas, and there is a lot to think about. So, who is responsible to defend national values? A government or us?
50-50.
Again, 50. So, okay, this is not what I say, this is what sources say. I can provide you some links from the internet where I took the information. There is a big report I have in Word format. Да, у меня есть документ вордовский, где подробненько все это описано на русском языке, кстати, поэтому я его сюда не закинула. And these sources claim that a subject always waits for the government to solve all their problems. But a citizen is a proactive person who has an idea of how to improve the life in the society. And it's necessary for democracy to develop to have citizens, not the subjects. This is what I want you to come to. So, let's return to democracy. Is it a guarantor? Can it guarantee the effective governance? Is it a tool to guarantee the effective? So, we already established that with active initiative demanding citizens who are able to make the authorities work in the interests of the people, yes, the answer can be yes. Democracy can be effective for the government if the country has initiative and active citizens. If people know what we want, if we know what we want, we can claim for the government, we can tell we want better life and we want it this way and that way. There should be a negotiation between government and people. Effectiveness of authorities says that authorities should work with people, they should listen to us, and they should develop programs like agendas according to our needs and values. So authorities will develop their capacity and effectiveness. It's not that the established rules work all the time, because the environment changes and the laws should be amended or changed a bit, and the government should be aware of what's going on in the world to adapt. Permanent control over the authorities' activity. We have the right to control our government. according to democratic values. We can claim for the reports where money goes to, what do they do to improve our lives, and many questions that we want to ask the government, we can and we should ask them. Only provided we ask government for the reporting means that democracy works. So how can we do it is another question. Right? We cannot, of course, we cannot do it directly. We cannot go to the parliament and say, I don't like this law, or I want a better life this way. So, but there are some mechanisms to do it, to cooperate with the government, like public representatives in the government, like some funds and affiliations. Totality of the activities of all three branches of government. Yeah. When we say government, we usually think about the executive authorities, executive branch, but all the three branches should work. Judicial, one, and legislative. They should work all in three. So, analyzing what we already heard from this presentation, not to take much time of you. So, democracy. Can it be effective for the government, for the country? It can be. It can be a form of building a social life, provided it develops effective solutions to modern challenges. So, if democracy can find response to some difficulties, to some challenges of the modern world, so it can be a tool of ruling the country. So, democracy is only effective with active and enterprising citizens. It depends on us if democracy works within the country. So democracy in future is impossible without combination. It should work not only in one sphere of life, it should work in all of the spheres, like in political, in economic and social, and in cultural spheres. Only then the democracy will be efficient. And people, they should be, all the citizens, all the people should be allowed to be actors in political life, in political processes, and in decision making. So, what does it mean to actively participate in political life of our country? How can we do it? Maybe we already do it somehow.
We already do it by going to elections, voting for someone, deciding on our future.
Yeah. We are free to decide our future for the nearest 4 years. Right? Yes. We get only one opportunity to pick someone who will make our life better for the next 4 years.
Yes.
And it's only once 4 years we can participate in the political life of our country. But we actually can do it more than once in 4 years. Yes, you're right, elections is the first and foremost. Representation in government. We can have public representatives. We can designate one citizen to represent all the society in the government. We can do it by youth organizations, public funds, and different movements. So if we have an idea, it always most possibly to work if this idea is a collective one, not a personal idea. That's why organizations like funds is a good tool to participate in political life. Activity in political parties. I don't know what for other countries, but unfortunately in our country, young people like you are not very active, are not very effective in political parties. Simply because political leaders, party leaders, they don't think you are smart enough.
Yes, because of your age.
Maybe because they're rich, but when they look at you, they see you as a tool to achieve some of their goals. Yeah. This is a problem for our country. Active expression of your political rights and freedoms. So you can actively express your ideas if you don't like something. and via international institutions and organizations, and I have some here. This is only a few that work towards democracy. So UNICEF, United Nations Organization, UNDP, Council of Europe, and OSCE, right? Those are several organizations. And if you want me to send this presentation to you, I provided some slides where you can find more detailed information on democratic issues and how these organizations deal with democratic issues. What do they do? What programs do they have? Like, for example, UNDP program, they work with educational programs, with women issues, and with young people, I guess. So more details can be found on their website. If we deal with Council of Europe, oops, I didn't translate this. If we visit website of Council of Europe, you can find democratic, everything related to democracy in one of the, как это вкладка? В одной из вкладок. So you can find it here on the website. And Council of Europe, they deal with young people. Their programs are targeted at young people. Like, for example, they raise the questions: what age is considered to allow you to participate in the life of your country, political life of your country? Like, for example, 16 is enough to get married, or is enough to go to work, but it's not enough to go to vote for elections, right? Should it be correct or not? So this is some issues that Council of Europe raised. So OSCE deals with democratic governance and all other issues. You can also find information there. And this is a bit of about Kyrgyzstan. Я забыла, как это называется. Информационное агентство. Статистику я взяла из информационного агентства, забыла, как оно называется. И главное, ссылку сюда не дала, да? Но не суть. Международный республиканский институт, International Republican Institute. So they provide annually some statistics about questions that citizens ask, or sometimes they provide polls, questionnaires for the citizens, and then they publish the results on their websites. And this is the recent one, I guess 2021. And this is like the International Republican Institute. They claim that 90% of Kyrgyz citizens think that more young people should be involved in politics.
Is it I or I?
Да. ИРИ.
ИРИ, да.
Международное агентство, республиканское агентство. So they claim that 90% of people are not content with the situation of how young people participate in political life of the country. So young people claim that we can do more. If we have enough tools, if we know if we have enough information of how to do it. So why does it happen? According to that institute, according to that institution, they say this is because contradictions of the systems. Because we have a traditional system and modern system one. The traditional system says that everyone should know their place, women should do that, men should do that. This derives from our traditions, and modernism, like modern systems, they are dictated by globalization process, and our country is not very much adopted. Those two traditional and modern systems, they do not always coincide. That's why it makes some difficulties for the young people or for the ordinary citizens to participate in the political life of the country. So during the elections, what they say is that young people, that citizens, especially young people, are very active in elections, but not very active in political parties. again, I mentioned that because political leaders, because party leaders, they don't see young people smart enough to make any decisions. So they mostly see young people as a tool to reach their goals. So, but we still have the opportunity to learn how to defend our rights, our freedoms, and how to bring our initiatives to the government. And this is all depends on us. Все. Не открывается дальше, но там thank you slide. Ну почему там куда-то делся? So do you have any questions? Do you want to try to bring in some initiatives, some ideas? Maybe, for example, except for your right to go to elections. Now imagine that you have an opportunity to inform your government what you would like to improve to make the life better. In what spheres we can act? Education. Culture. Health, medicine, healthcare. Social life. Maybe access to some information. Right? Medicine. You can
Education, culture,
maybe you can organize some groups and think what you would like to propose to the government to make our life easier. Shall we try?
Yes.
Huh? You can write down your ideas here, and the ideas can be related to any sphere of life you would like to improve.
Psychological help for teenagers with suicidal thoughts. Now we see that a lot of teenagers are like that, and I know several people who suffer from depression. And at sex education, of course, at schools, like to prevent abortions and STD. We want more schools and centers for disabled children, more zebras and traffic lights, shelter for homeless animals, because in our town a lot of animals who are like very angry, yeah, and they're homeless, and yeah.
And very few organizations deal with them.
Yeah. And we want no more shortcuts anymore. And sell prescription drugs only in drugstores.
So the importance of smaller steps can lead to a bigger step to prosperity, right? And we should start with city infrastructure, and maybe we'll become an example for all the other cities. Right? Thank you.
Your question was about democracy in our country as well. You know, there's a lot of things we can advise our country's government, as we do now, but we just took the main problem is that corruption of our country. I know that, I really like this phrase of Evgeniia Zaitseva. The homeland cannot be carried away, can only carry away the longing. If the homeland could be carried along like a sack, it would be a dime of dozen. It means that we are all patriot, we all want to see our country's developed one, but the main reason of that in all Soviet countries, ex-Soviet countries, there's a big problem called corruption in people not following all the rules, you know. So we need to change our public consciousness, public thinking that I guess this thing plays a whole role, because I was raised and born in Osh, in town Osh, you know, there's a lot of people, there is a huge problem in south of Kyrgyzstan with our borders, and there is no I don't know, government cannot support the people who are living close to borders, because I have talked with them. They have a huge trauma from the side of Uzbekistan, from Tajikistan, as an example, right? And I guess we need to start from our borders, because it's our freedom. When our country is free, we can do everything we want. I mean, free from the thinking of Russia, thinking of China, but it's hard, you know. But we need to start, for example, as Kazakhstan do, and just to do something important for democracy, we need to change freedom. We need to care about our country's wall as well, I mean. And guys, actually, previously they told about area field, which we want to add also.
So I think everybody knows the main issues in our country. It's first education, medicine, and regional development. We want to say that if we have good education, we can change our mentality maybe a little bit, and it will be good for our future, maybe it's managers, our people, and so we need enough teachers who are qualified. Second, we need technology and new system, new standards in our schools, and better conditions. So the second, medicine, I think the same part. We need enough doctors, enough good new technologies and systems, standards, and better conditions, of course. And so more taxes. I think if people pay more taxes, it will be good for doctors. So it means the will be higher salary and it will be better medicine, yes, it will be more profitable. And the third, regional development. Regional development is also an important thing in our country. If we make better, for example, tourism, business, more conventional, I think will be good for our
Yes.
economy.
Yes, it is the economy of our country will increase. And we also try build new hotels and find new places, beautiful places in our country. There are so many places, and also it's also an important thing. For tourism, for example, in Mexico we have our beautiful lake and our beautiful mountains, falls, and also a lot of beautiful historical places. Sightseeing.
Yes, and more tourists who was in Kyrgyzstan. The first was that Kyrgyzstan has have beautiful nature, just need only more conditions to improve conditions. For example, there is a toilet, transportation, and autos related.
Yes. We only have wild nature to be proud of,
Yes.
but no modern conditions
Yes.
to show all the nature. Right. Okay, thank you for that. That's very important. And one thing I noticed, this is the only group who said that we have to increase taxes. How do you think, would people be happy about that?
If you want to good medicine, have a good medicine, we just need.
Okay. So thank you all of you for coming here, for participating.